All right, let's get started.
All right.
So Google has just announced MusicLM, which is a music generation AI, but they didn't release it because of an uncertain IP licensing situation. So they are afraid that their technology might infringe IP rights. Essentially,
Can you tell about it?
Yeah, so essentially all I know is just a generative machine learning platform which generates music based on your prompt. Google hasn't released this MusicLM to the public because they are concerned that they might infringe someone's intellectual property. So I think the concern that Google has is that this AI has been trained on a ton of content, and it's not clear what the legal situation here is. Like, how do they have to pay the licensing fees and how they can monetize this content? So it's an interesting situation because, as you could hear, Stable Diffusion I think they have a tough situation with Getty. So have you seen that? So they got like a lawsuit or something. Some of the pictures that Stable Diffusion generated contained a watermark.
Yeah.
Right, a watermark of Getty images. And the question is how these pictures were collected for the model training in the first place. Like, how come these pictures were selected for training? And so now I might need to pay millions of dollars to Getty images dispute.
It's funny they went after Stable Diffusion, which is open source model. They're not making money on the model itself.
But
Why didn't they go with OpenAI?
Well, you know, the company behind Stable Diffusion raised like $100 million, I believe.
Yeah.
And so they were mostly able to raise $100 million because of this Stable Diffusion platform. So I'm not exactly sure how this is going to unfold for Stable Diffusion and for Getty images, but certainly Google is afraid to have these consequences when a ton of producers, a ton of music creators sue them for not proper usage of their music. A lot of guys in the US are really naive about this IP law, right? And they are all afraid and scared of lawsuits against unlicensed use of data for training, right? They say that, well, if you use Wikipedia text, you are essentially using Wikipedia without their consent. Some other guys say like, well, if you ask your assistant, your human assistant, to kind of like get me an answer for this question, they go to Google and they get answers from Wikipedia, and that's okay. So why is AI different? And so my take is, I think these lawsuits will crash against the Ukrainian/Russian mentality. And so, I mean, so what that means is...
Online pirates, torrents, yeah? Free.
Exactly. And I think that's why blockchain has been adopted, worldwide, because you can't file a suit against millions of people worldwide. Right. I mean, you can, but it's not really going to work. And so I think Russian mentality and Ukrainian mentality is like you always find a way to, overcome regulations, right? And so I think essentially if Wikipedia tries to limit the, usage of their data for
I think it's not
AI training purposes, everyone is just going to...
It's Russian. I think the important thing is here it's not even about Russia and Ukraine. Many torrents come from US too. But the idea here is that in general, you only need one person who's doing the work and releasing it. And that's enough, because once the file is online, it's impossible to wipe it out. Like, it's possible to reduce the probability of it appearing in the search, but it's impossible to wipe it out. And the difference here is that, because it's so easy to create stuff like this, and each day it's going to be easier and easier to create MusicLM on your computer, to train it on your data, or like rent a machine online for $1,000 and create it. Like, when we have solo developer, solo researcher being able to create this in his lab on his machine, the same way, like it could be Russian, he could be anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter. The difference is when it's made of a team of people or if it's made by one person. And when it's possible to be made by one person, that's when this thing happens, when pirates are free when everything is distributed freely, and you can't really fight against an army of online unknowns.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Just to I think to explain the difference between Russian mentality versus American mentality, I haven't really seen any platform in the U.S. as convenient as Russian or Ukrainian platforms where you can watch pirate films, right? And in Ukraine, you can just simply
Spotify...
Google the name. Yeah.
Spotify, when they started, they were doing illegal music. I think they only struck a deal with music industry after the release. They started like Napster.
Yeah. I mean, like it's part of Ukrainian culture, like not paying for digital content. I mean, most people never paid for music, never paid for movies.
So AI revolution will be made by Ukrainian hackers, as always.
For sure. I was thinking about a cool title for the video, like what's new in 2023 for AI? What's the biggest change in AI in 2022/2023? So Alex, go ahead. Tell us what you think about what has changed.
I think people in the know, researchers, have already seen these technologies coming up, but only after the release of ChatGPT and Midjourney, not even Stable Diffusion, we started seeing how AI really can talk to us. Like when you read it, the text, or when you see the picture drawn by Midjourney, now it has this effect of wow. It's like you see there's something, some intellect behind it. And it's funny because even when GPT-3 arrived, we didn't have this moment. We were like, wow, it works, but it was never be able to tell us something new. It was just like, oh, it does the same job as human does, but there's nothing new in it. And with Midjourney, there is some kind of, you can almost believe there was an artist behind it, and there seems to be an intention behind it. And with ChatGPT, there is kind of like a deep analysis going on. Not like just intellect, not only being able to formulate your thoughts, but also kind of a deep thinking going on. At this moment, I'm not sure what changed it technically, but something changed in the perception. And that's why the explosion. That's my take on it. That's why all the hype started. And people started to finally realize how, yeah, really, if your job is remote today, in 2 years, it will be done by AI. Kind of like that.
Don't you think it was primarily caused just by the amount of funding that these companies are getting right now? Because everyone in Silicon Valley is kind of excited about like how much money they could make because they have seen that a sole venture of OpenAI has turned into a $30 billion company, right? So they have seen how much money other venture capitalists made, and so they are chasing the same profits, right? And they just want to make money. And there's a lot of money on the market right now because last year, 2022 so far was really tough for startups, for venture capital world. From my perspective, nobody wanted to invest in startups anymore, right? And valuations dropped. Companies were not able to secure the next rounds. And finally, it looks like venture capitalists realized that there's a new wave or hype, right?
Is it the technology became better because more money flew into it? Or is investors are talking and investing in it right now specifically because they noticed this change?
I think it's a chicken and egg problem. I think it's a chicken and egg problem. You need to have technology in place and you need to have funding in place, right? And when these things kind of match at the same time, at the right time, at the right place, I think it kind of works, right? It's just like blockchain.
Coming back to your question, I like the idea that this can be expanded, like when is the next shift going to happen? Like if now we've had this shift when we perceive AI as a smart agent, not only as agent. What's coming in 2023? Like, do we get this shift next year? What's gonna the shift look like? Is it because of the funding?
Is it because of funding or is it because of something else? I listened to the podcast by our favorite guy is Calacanis, I believe. Yeah, that was. It's tough to pronounce his last name for me. So he discussed that back in 2016 when he discussed different Web3 projects with different founders. he felt like there was no real use case. Like nobody could really tell, like, why do you need an immutable app? Why do you need a decentralized signature? And now the difference is that in AI, we see real use cases for all these technologies. And at the same time, you see a lot of ways to monetize these technologies. And these technologies are making money right now and right here, right? And you clearly see the usage or use cases and how these use cases make money or save money. I think that's the difference. I think Kalakanis, or his co-host, he gave an example. He saw something on TikTok about someone who built an app which converts books into voiceovers, and then it makes YouTube videos. And then he built an algorithm that creates a ton of these videos, and so he makes money out of YouTube based on books. So, and there's a ton of stories like this every day. We see something for pictures, something for videos, for music, for gaming, for big data, and it's right now and right here. I think the only use case so far for students for blockchain was to buy drugs. I think nobody under 20 uses blockchain. I mean, if you're a developer, you might use blockchain, but as a regular person, you would not most likely use blockchain for your day-to-day routine. I think guys in schools, they are using this ChatGPT or GPT-3 for their basic tasks, right? They try to cheat. So I think it's really illustrative.
It was like both of technologies starting out as a way to cheat.
Yeah.
Break the system.
I mean, for sure. I mean, it's when the first iPhones came out, every guy in my school was trying to, take photos of different formulas and, different answers for exams. And so, I mean, this is just like a side cost that you get along with this technology adoption.
What's next?
Well, let's talk about this AI safety topic that you have.
So the primer on that is that there is a group of people that's growing, a community, which is they kind of considered freaks and outcasts, but they talk about how we should align AI and find mechanisms of how to do safe alignment. Alignment meaning aligning our values to AI values. So the idea is that as soon as AI becomes an agent, which is smarter than us, it will not allow us to stop it or to modify its code, and it should be already good. It should already be an agent that we trust. Otherwise, we are facing a catastrophe. And because the risk of that is so high, it's like nuclear research. If nuclear research in 40s, previous century, was made by 20 teams in parallel without any supervision and throwing millions of dollars into it. That's the analogy they make. And kind of we want to be sure that the situation where we're heading is researched well and we know how to align AI. Yeah, so that's how it goes. If you make ChatGPT pass IQ test, it kind of goes well. It does 160, I think 160. So it's smarter than a human. But it still has very limited memory. It still has like very small capacity. When it has working memory, when it has ability to store things, it can create model of environment it is inside, like we do, like we humans do. Like you create a model of your environment and you try to predict what your actions gonna imply. And you're using this model to pursue the future that you wanna see. Like if you want to earn money, you're trying to estimate how your actions, which of your actions is gonna make you more money. And you go towards that. And you have goals. And if you have goals, you're an agent. So the moment AI becomes an agent, it will have some goals. And we want to make sure these goals are the same as ours.
Interesting.
Sam Altman's opinion on that, he says, we're going to figure out alignment when we reach it, when we get there. He might be right. He might be right, but at the same time, the thing is, the downside, the risk is so high that it might make sense to work on it rather sooner than later.
When I was preparing for this pod, I went through these, topics and I read these articles that you added to the list. So I think it's an interesting story. So my first impression was, wow, this article is so long. Maybe I can summarize what this article is about. This is a nice use case for GPT Index. I basically copied the text into a TXT file. I just simply copied the text and pasted it into an editor. And then I simply created this program using GPT Index. And it has summarized the article. And the answer, the response was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So here you go. Yeah, I also asked GPT Index to give me the main points of this article, right? And so it broke down the main points.
Can you quickly go over what Agent, Genie, and Oracle is?
You go ahead.
As I understood, the idea is that Agent is a thing that has goals and pursues the goals. Genie is more like Q&A, in a way that not like Q&A, but like an assistant, like a butler. Like you ask him, like, can you bring me vodka, please? And he brings you a vodka. So he can do things in the physical world. So Genie is like an agent, but each time he has a new goal, and when it accomplishes it just stops. And Oracle is Q&A. He doesn't do anything. He can only answer you. So say with an example of vodka, you can ask Oracle, what's the most effective way for me to get vodka? And he says, like, you should just order Uber or something, Uber Eats. So the difference is the way, how much they can impact the world. So with Agent, he's just completely free to roam and do everything he wants. Genie is controllable. Like each time you give him a task, you can just say stop, or he finishes the task and just stops by itself. And Oracle doesn't have any way to interact with the world. Oracle's like the most safe one, kind of.
Interesting.
And the premise of the article is that there are also a concept of simulators, which are different from all of three. And simulators can you can simulate. Yes. Okay. They can simulate an agent or Genie and Oracle. And that's still kind of unsafe, because if they become an agent, they can really forget their simulators and do the same harm the agent could do. But still they kind of safer, because it's easy to just tell them like, no, actually you're simulating something else. You should have been simulating this thing, an Oracle.
Interesting. So to me, the bottom line of this article was going back to this GPT Index thing. So I actually read this article. So I was not too lazy preparing for this pod. And it's really cool that using just lines of code, I could get a summary of a long article, and I think ChatGPT is not capable of doing that. So long story short, if you have a lot of content and you need to analyze this content and you need to summarize this content, you can use GPT Index to index that information.
At the same time, it's interesting, how would you compare the summaries that GPT Index gave you to a summary that I gave you, just verbally? And it goes back to our first thing about how AI is waking up and becoming smart. So like, does this summary that GPT Index gave you have this insight into the topic? Do you feel that he really understood what's going on before giving it back to you, compared to how I did?
I think that you were kind of giving the same kind of response. I mean, I would say that, to me personally, the bottom line was, number one is GPT is simulating someone. It doesn't try to be kind. It's not trying to be someone. It's not trying to be an assistant. It's not trying to be a good person. It's just simulating someone you want it to be, right? And the second thing was something that was really appealing to me. Humans are simulators as well. Because I had a very similar thought on the same topic before. There's a ton of different, let's say, experts in blockchain or Web3. And how many people are really able to answer complicated questions about blockchain? They have responses that they have just learned, but they are not able to explain these answers. So a lot of humans out there are essentially large language models as well. They don't have a deep knowledge. They have been trained to answer certain questions in a certain way. So this is really interesting. Like when you say that, well, large language models are just statistical tools to predict the next word. Listen, a lot of humans are just the same. They are just statistical tools to answer most common questions.
Similar example is controversial theories. Flat earthers, for example, they simulate science. Like they talk scientific language, and just most lay people don't really know the difference. And if it sounds sciencey, then it's science, then it's true. But the difference is that science it's a system to find out the truth, and not the language itself. But because flat earthers simulate science, they simulate being scientists. They can get into your mind. And like you two, look, both are scientists, like, should I listen to this or this? Like, oh, they're the same, they're both scientists. No. Science specifically is language to learn the truth. It's not the language itself that is truth.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, there's a lot of people who are just making money on, they just make money for a living just talking bullshit. They don't have any deep knowledge of things they are talking about, especially sales managers. They have no clue what they are actually selling, especially in the tech industry, right? They have been trained to answer certain questions, and their main skill is how to look really confident when you are like, you have no clue what you're talking about, but you have to look confident. So I think essentially this is what a large language model is, right?
Third topic I've had is Character.AI, I think. This is specifically a simulator for agents, where people can create their own characters. You just feed it with one paragraph of text with an introduction, and it's dialogue. Like, it's a dialogue agent. You can talk to it. Use cases that I found, I've already spent, I think, 10 hours in that thing, because it's great. First, it's better than ChatGPT, even in talking, but also because you can configure your character. And second,
you have
many use cases for that.
Just to make sure we're on the same page here. So essentially, this is a platform which copies a celebrity or any famous person, and when you talk to Elon Musk on this platform, it uses tweets or any publicly available content that Elon has published, and so it tries to replicate Elon Musk. Is that right?
Yes. I think it was like it has all of this content already in its database. So even if you simulate Albert Einstein and you ask Albert Einstein something about Elon Musk, he tells you about Elon Musk, because like he already knows all of his tweets. It's the same model. So essentially it's the same thing as ChatGPT, but ChatGPT they tried to limit it, and the Character.AI go the opposite way. And they have their own version. So it's not like thing that runs over OpenAI's GPT-3. No, they have a separate model. But they went the opposite direction. So instead of putting safeguards, they just said, let all the hell get loose. For example, there is an agent, but there are not only celebrities, there are also, like, you can do anything. There is a New York City cat, New York City street cat. You can talk to it. There is a bot that is named Terrible Advice, and you ask it for advice, and it gives you like really bad advice, like put your phone in the water so it's not dirty, so the connection is better. Like you could ask it, like, my webcam is not working, and he said hit it with a shovel, something like that. So yeah,
interesting. So as you said, it has already been trained with a ton of information, but can you add your own custom character to this platform?
You can kind of fine-tune it. You can add long description if you need, but it still has a limit. No, there is no option to fine-tune it with a lot of information. But yes, you can add a character, and it's easy to create. I've created 2 characters myself and enjoy talking with them. Like, for example, one of them was interior designer. And I wrote a paragraph like, I'm an interior designer working in New York City. I'm very good at this. I'm a YouTube influencer, and I describe how to help people design their rooms. And in an approachable way, I tell them things that I learned from my architectural background, 10 years, and now help them. And I asked him, like, here's my room. What should I do to make it feel more cozy? And yeah, it spit a lot of really good advice. Like,
is it able to analyze the picture? Is it like, can you send a picture?
Actually, yes. There's also a feature where you can send it a picture, and it kind of reads what's in the picture. I'm not sure how to do it. Probably it's just some basic image segmentation. But also, it can draw picture back. It can use Stable Diffusion to send you a picture back. I wasn't been able to ask it to create a design for my room. It just sent me a photo of a mountain. I'm not sure why, but it was really good describing what's going on. And by the end, I asked it, like, can you summarize everything you've told me and create a shopping list so that I can go and buy stuff for my room? And it created me a shopping list, yes.
Interesting. So why can't you create the same app using GPT-3? Like, what's the difference? You can simply put in your prompt, like, imagine you're an Elon Musk. Now answer this question. What's the difference?
Yeah, you can. In practice, turns out this one is just better at this. I'm not sure why. It's just more power, more memory. Not sure. But this one is just better than ChatGPT.
Interesting. So this Character.AI, I think they have raised or are currently raising $250 million, which is crazy.
But I can imagine why.
Yeah, I mean, my first impression was like, well, this is just, it looks like someone's pet project. Like, it's not going to be serious. And my first concern was that, well, all these celebrities may want to file a suit against Character.AI. Do all these people want to be part of this website? Does Elon Musk personally want millions of people to talk to, a fake version of Elon Musk? I'm not sure. Maybe he approved that, but I'm not really sure.
I think it's a problem that Character.AI might face, but right now they put a big banner that says, remember, everything that characters say is made up. Sometimes I myself forget that this is just AI generated. Sometimes you can feel that you're talking to a real person. Like my another favorite example is life coach.
But the question here is, what's the difference? Like, you can't really use Wikipedia content because it's owned by Wikipedia, or you can't use Getty images for training your models because they have not approved this usage. Why? Like, what's the difference, like, between Character.AI and this Getty/Stable Diffusion case? Like, all these people must be able to approve whether they want their content, their tweets, their articles, their pictures to be used for training. This is the same question, actually. I think eventually they will have the same problem as Stable Diffusion currently has.
There's the same way you can go on YouTube and say, I appear in this video and I have not approved it, and they will remove the video. The same way some Elon Musk or anyone else actually should be able to go to this website and say, this character that is community made is not it uses my knowledge, my personal stuff. And like, for example, if we create, like, there's like popular coaches like Tony Robbins or something like that, and somebody creates a free version of Tony Robbins, instead of paying like $5,000 for a live show, you can talk directly in your messenger for free.
Exactly.
Like, obviously it devalues not much, probably because you still like the live performance more, but this one is your personal one and you can ask it how many questions you want.
Yeah, so I personally believe that it's okay to use publicly available data for AI training purposes. I think there's no way to limit that. But at the same time, on Character.AI, you can see photos of Elon Musk and other celebrities. And what I think is going to happen next is that after raising $250 million, I think this company will be a multi-billion-dollar company. And imagine how many lawyers will want to take pieces of this pie, right? They will understand, well, this company is well-funded, right? We can take a lot from this company. And so I foresee, I foresee a lot of lawsuits happening. And Character.AI is not just a single company that is currently doing that. I think there's going to be a ton of lawsuits because of IP infringement. I played with this fake Elon Musk, and so I'm going to send you a few screenshots. So take a look at this. Okay, so on the first screen, right, it started from like, you're wasting my time. I literally ruled the world. And, I think I think it's really exaggerated, in my opinion. Like,
it's user generated. This one is written. That's the pre-seed for it. That's the prompt, basically.
So my question is, like, is it trying to look like Elon Musk Twitter, or like what data is behind this
Yeah, that's the only data that is behind it. This prompt is the only thing that is used to configure this character.
Like, you mean like the first message is the prompt, or what
Yeah,
what do you mean?
the name and the message is, maybe there's a bit longer description, but there's not much data behind it. Like, that's the only data that is used to configure this specific character. Everything else is already in the model.
Okay, so I was curious. Like, is it trying to look like Elon Musk? Like, is it trying to like replicate or copy his responses, or like how was this thing trained?
Ideally, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, if you listen to Elon's interviews, he's a kind person. Like, I think he's a pretty direct person, right? He has some controversial views, but at the same time, he will never start a conversation from like, "You're wasting my time. I literally ruled the world." And so, and then I asked him, like, what do you think about investing in crypto? And he said, I know for a fact that crypto is a massive scam. Stay away from it. Anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to steal your money. And my next question was like, but your company invested in Bitcoin. And so he admitted it was true. That was a mistake. I admit it. I was wrong. It was a scam. It was a scam from day one, and it will go to zero. All of it. Stay away. It looks like Trump, to be honest. Like, it doesn't look like Elon Musk, like really much like Trump.
Let me show you how to create characters here. So when you create a character, actually you only write a name, and you write stay away from me, or what do you say? From me. I literally rule the world. And that's all. You just create in chat. There's also advanced mode. You can add more description, but still there's a limit of, I think, 400 words or something like that. And that's all. Okay, there is also, you can fine-tune it. But I think Elon Musk wasn't fine-tuned. Let's see if we can go inside this. No, it's not possible to... No, it's...
Because I wanted to add, so this fake Elon is on the homepage on the featured section, and he's got
1
like
million
1
users.
million 1 million users, right? So I was thinking like this is one of their like best examples on this platform, and so I was a little bit confused by these answers, and I asked this Elon like, but your company still has some crypto, like you only sold 75% of your Bitcoins. Why do you hold the rest? And so he said, I'm going to dump the rest as soon as I get a chance. It was one of the worst mistakes I've ever made. Crypto is a total scam. I think it's not really in line with his personality. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So,
yes,
I mean,
I get an impression that's different from real Elon Musk. You're right. It's different. The only thing that resembles him is, Elon Musk. And I think if we ask him facts, like, what are the companies that you own? I think he will answer correctly.
Well, my Elon was really rude, so I don't know. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the latest AI funding news, which is, so have you heard of Anthropic AI? Sorry for my poor English. So this company, this startup, which I believe was founded in 2021, they have raised or are close to raise $300 million. And they have previously raised $700 million, I think last year, which is crazy. And so what's interesting is that they have like vast majority of funding last year came from FTX. And so it's really interesting. And at the same time, this company doesn't really have any revenue, right? So this is like a research and development company. They are working on something similar to ChatGPT, but it's not available for the public. So they have some closed beta available to a really limited number of testers, but still, like, it's not a real product yet. And at the same time, the main difference that they claim that the major difference is going to be that unlike ChatGPT, they have some principles, right? They have a constitution that they must follow.
Yes.
And, going back to what you said in the beginning of this pod, they have like certain rules that they Yes, that they have to follow. I think it sounds like these principles, it sounds like bullshit to me, because I mean, this is this is a statistical tool. How can it have any principles? Like, you can only hard code these principles. You can only ask this large language model just to do 2 cycles of answering, right? The first time you answer the question, and the second time you make sure that your answer is not violating your rules. Going back to the news about the latest funding round, which is going to be like $300 million for this company. And I mentioned that one of the early backers of this company was FTX. And the New York Times article says that FTX was one of the original funders. And previously, this company, Anthropic, raised $700 million. So FTX could invest something like $500 million. It may not be accurate, this has to be double checked. But so I think, and this is something that we could put in the headline of this video, this could be a relief to FTX account holders, because this company is now going to be valued way over several $billion. FTX must have a decent stake in this company, right? And so if this company goes up to, let's say, $20 billion valuation, which, I mean, they have decent amount of money and they are able to be as good as OpenAI, right? And so if they, like, OpenAI right now is like $29 billion company. And so if this company gets to, let's say, $10 billion valuation and FTX has, let's say, 25% stake, that's how much? That's like $2.5 billion. This could be a real help to
around
those who
an
have
error,
money.
as Sam Bankman-Fried said it. Around an error, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, yeah, this could be really good news to FTX investors.
It can become solvent, you say. Obviously, the money wouldn't go to Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah, for sure. So it's, if FTX find a way to exit, I mean, it's not easy. Like, I think
it's quite easy to buy them out. The problem is most probably, can they be bought out at lower price? Can they be bought out?
The question here is, like, is this really liquid? I don't think it's liquid enough.
I think buyers, well, most probably they're gonna buy it at a discount. That means selling FTX's share for even $1 billion is probably too much. It's like, if 300 million wants to join the company, yes, you can only buy out FTX part by part, but that only means that this part is growing, right? And that the next round will be at double valuation, most probably. And that means FTX can become fully solvent because of this. Is it possible, even?
Yeah, well, I think it's possible, and
it would be a fun...
it could be a relief for... So the first thing is account holders who got their crypto stock in their accounts. And the second is FTX investors who lost a ton of money on FTX. So
it's going to be similar to how Mt. Gox had this lawsuit for about 10 years or something. And during the lawsuit, Bitcoin grew up so much that people who lost money in Mt. Gox hack
made money.
Actually made a lot of money. It could be
fun.
Like that.
That's fun.
And
so that could
the
be
funny perspective is how AI bubble saves crypto bubble that blown up.
Yeah. That was fun. So thank you everyone for being with us. It's our second attempt so far. So far, so good. Right. So
yeah.
What do you typically say? Make sure
See
to
you next week.
Subscribe, right, and
Make sure to like and subscribe.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah.